Living in different countries didn't automatically make me fluent, but it completely changed how I learn languages. Montreal, New Jersey, New York, Rome, Madrid, Milan shaped my multilingual journey more than any textbook. The first thing that people say all the time is like, you're so lucky because you have been able to learn English by traveling and living in the state. Guys, I have not learned English when I left to America. I actually learned English way before that, but that was a long process and a long journey that most of us are not interesting about recognizing. Is the fact that you learn slowly but surely the language way before arriving to the country. Being fluent in a country, is it easier? Yes, because when you live in a country where the language is so strong, like the exposure, it's bigger. Of course, you have no other choice than to become fluent if you make yourself the work. If you make the work to getting in the fluency, there is no reason for you to not get fluent if you are doing the work and living in a country. But you can also live in a country and not make the work for that and never become fluent in that language. If you're going to a country, I would say that it's not an English speaker country, there is a lot of reason for you to never get the language of the country. If you're going to Spain, the main language is of course Spanish. But if you're speaking English, English being like the basic language for everybody to speak today, and if you don't speak the same language as someone else, most of the time you guys are going to speak in English. With English, you can always escape. You can always find a way to never get the fluency of the country where you're living into, because English is that general language, that basic language that everybody has to convene when they are talking outside of their environment or when they're outside of their own environment. Let's start with Madrid. I've learned Spanish since a very, very long time. First of all, as I said, Spanish was my second language. I was a student in France, and in France, you have to do at least two languages on top of your other classes when you're at school. So, of course, I choose English as my first language and then Spanish as my second language. So, Spanish has been following me since I was in middle school. So, basically, since I was like 11 years old. But then I cannot say I was speaking Spanish. I would not say like I was having any accent. I would not say that I was able to have a conversation with someone. I was learning those simple and stupid sentences we learn when we're at school, when we say like Pedro is in his kitchen. So we say that in Spanish. Pedro está en la cocina. What are you going to do with this sentence? Nothing. But the stupid things that you learn at school that is supposed to help you with the grammar is not really helping you with the conversation. It's not going to help you with speaking the language. It's mostly for you to understand the basics. Then you have to do your own job. So my own job in Spanish started when I started to be very interesting on the telenovelas. The telenovelas has been for me one of the greatest things I've watched when I was in high school. I would say like the Bollywood movie and the telenovelas was like a bit of the waste of my time. I was not doing my homework sometimes just to watch those things. Am I proud of that? That's not the point. We're talking about something else here. So yeah, let's say like this immersion into South America, because the telenovelas is coming from there. So this immersion to the South American culture has been through the telenovela. So I was comfortably sitting in my chair in Paris, learning to speak Spanish with South American culture. So you see, like we have already three different areas here. In school, I'm learning Spanish from Spain. The construct, the accent, even my teachers, they were talking with this kind of accent. At home, I am immersing myself to South American culture and defending this area. So my Spanish was already a little bit troubled. If we're talking about the accent adaptation today, after traveling even in Spain or in South America, I can say that my accent is still going from there because it's been a long period of me getting exposed to that accent. It's impossible for me to switch with the Spanish one from Spain because it's very different. Am I able to understand people speaking to me from Spain? Obviously. But when I will answer to them, I will still catch up of the accent of South America. The fast speech exposure, I would say it's making sense. I have not stayed long in Madrid, so I would say maybe if I've stayed longer, like maybe a year, I would have maybe been able to switch the accent, and because the exposure of the Spanish Spain accent would have been very strong and maybe overcome my South American accent. but I cannot say that for sure. Maybe it will have happened, maybe not. But clearly, the exposure in the country, especially speaking with the local, if you're paying attention, if you're the kind of person who's gonna repeat and get concentrated on the phonetics and the pronunciation, you can completely readapt your accent, and the exposure will help you. And of course, you will learn faster. But it's not a guarantee for you to becoming fluent in that language. It's just going to be a switch that you're going to be able to do, an adaptation you're going to be able to do. But the fluency is not guaranteed. What is guaranteed in fluency is the practice, the overtime exercise, the complete social immersion to that, to live the life as a local, to make sure like you're not going to the main focused language, which is going to be English. As I said, English is the language that you have to escape if you do not speak the same language as someone else. So if you're trying to avoid this one as much as possible, yes, you can arrive to fluency, because there is no other way for you to be able to be understood and to understand people that to go through the local language. Let's switch with English. My experience is North America. As I said, my English has been shaped way before arriving to North America, way before traveling, way before living there, way before studying there. I was already having my English. Is my English was close to the British one? No. Somehow, since a very young age, I have been very exposed through my TV shows, my liking, the books that I was reading, the music that I was listening. I was always exposed to the American accent. So for me, it was making sense when I was going to speak English that I will have the North American accent. I will not have the Australian one or the Canadian one, but the American one, because my exposure in that language has been very, very high. Um, of course, at school, we have the learning of British, because British, whatever we're going to say, it is for me the best English that you can find, because it's very well spoken. You will understand easily the grammar, you will understand easily the sentences if you go through the British academic than if you go to the American one. So yeah, for sure, understanding and learning English, I would say all the time, as try as much to go with the UK. The years I spent in US has completely put the basics, put like the construction of my English of today. So sometimes if I'm really playing hard, I will be able to switch a little bit the accent, and I will be able to speak with you with a British accent, but it's not going to be something intentional. It's not going to be something spontaneous. I have to do that intentionally. I have to put the effort to switch my accent into something that is not normal for me. Because for me, when I'm speaking right now with you in English, I am not even thinking about the accent. It's just going that fluently and easily, because it's just the exposure that I received. So to finish, I would say like fluency isn't just vocabulary. It's maybe the comfort of how you're feeling, and clearly that comfort has been completely shaped with my experience in North America. Finally, we're going to talk about the last language that we're trying to get, which is Italian, and we're going to talk with my experience in Rome and then lately with Milan. So, before starting to learn Italian, I always had this idea of like Italian, this romantic language. You go through the time with the Romanian Empire, everything built inside. You feel like this language is such a beautiful language. It's a romantic. You have the idea like when you're speaking that you're kind of exotic. You have a lot of also experience of people telling you like they fall in love with people just because they have an Italian accent when they're speaking English or speaking French, and this is actually true, is the fact that yeah, there is some idea of romantic behind Italy, with all we know about Italy, with Rome being one of the beautiful city I have ever seen, with the story behind Venice and the fact that it looks like Italy is just the country of love. And when you travel there and you arrive to the country, you're not a traveler, you became a local, you start to have a life there. Then uh, this dream of you a little bit fall apart, and then you have like the reality facing, and then it's not exactly what you thought. Okay, you have to make a lot of efforts. First of all, there is, as I said, there is countries where you can live and having an escape language where you're going to be English, and Italy is not one of those countries. It's not. Okay, Italy is not a country where you can say, oh, I'm escaping with English. No, it's not true. There is no escape. You don't speak Italian in Italy, you don't speak to anyone. So Except if you're going to expat people, you're not going to speak to anyone because no one, and I'm telling you this one with my experience in Rome, no one will make the effort to meet you. If you do not speak the language, they're going to say to you, ciao, bye. Okay, because it's like, I do not have time in my own country to learn a new language. And am I supposed to be blaming them? No, because I think it's true. I mean, you're arriving to the country, you need to talk the language, okay? But because we've been used to have this escape language with English, that we get so comfortable with the fact that, okay, if I'm able to speak English, I'm able to go everywhere. And then the reality in Italy is not the case. It's like, you're not going to go anywhere. So the struggle of fluency in Italian, it's way more complex than any other languages I have been able to learn, because it feels like I'm fighting all the time, not with the language, but with the country. Because if I do not master this language, I'm feeling like I have no social life in that place. And the only way for me to have a social life is to stay with people that are not Italian. But then you're not going to be able to immerse yourself in a country if you're avoiding the people from the country. This is kind of like the parallel that you have with the story. And that has been the experience that I have with Rome. Rome being this ancient city that I have been amazed and dreamed about living there, because it was like kind of this place where you have like all the Romanian story as a European student. You have learned from that at school, so you feel like, oh, you're going to be in Rome, and this is like this the most one of the most ancient city in the world. And then you're not even able to enjoy that because you're struggling with speaking with people on basic stuff, and people are not talking to you if you're not from their country or from their culture with the language. So you already have like this how can I say that? You already have like this separation that is made, and then you feel like you cannot immerse yourself in that city because you already have like the barriers around the language, and you cannot not express yourself, and then not express. You cannot speak with signs or stuff all the time, so you feel outside. You feel outside, and you feel like you're surrounded by people that looks like you, but they cannot be you, and you cannot relate, you cannot connect. So you're walking around people that you feel like you will never be able to reach, and it's making like this isolation become stronger. So yeah, this experience in Rome is probably one of the most complex that I had with languages, and I would never say that fluency in Italy it's easy. Getting fluency in any region in Italy is it's easy. You have regions. I would say the difference with Milan today, after living in Rome and trying Milan, I would say that yes, I feel a little bit more comfortable here in the fact that I felt less the isolation. But again, my first connections has been with people not speaking Italian. My first connections has been with travelers, foreigners. And it's a little bit sad to accept that, but also the fact because you, if you want to get a little bit of social life, you need to go a little bit outside because you will never get the fluency as soon as you arrive. And the fact that they're very close in other languages, it's making you the pressure. The pressure is not helping you because you're fighting that. So I would say like, yeah, sometimes some countries as Italy is going to show you that fluency is not the goal yet. The goal is to get to comfort, and then after the comfort, being surrounded by a language that is doesn't that you're not going to use, it's going to be still making you grow into that language. So I'm not using Italian every day since I've lived in Italy, which is the funny part of that. Is one of the country where I speak less the language of the country. But it's not because I'm surrounded by the language that I'm actually not using it. I'm going to use it in a different way, and then that's why you will learn about the growth in listening, the growth in confidence, because your confidence is going to increase. You're going to feel more and more comfortable because the surrounding by the language is going to open so many doors that you're going to be able to embrace, and then be able to get to that dream of fluency. But it's not the case yet. And then of course you're also going to have the little bit of the cultural understanding, because you're taking so much time to get into the country because the barrier of the language. So you're getting to observe more the people, observe more the culture, and then somehow this observation of the slow observation of the culture from the outside it's gonna make you understand it better. I will finish this video by saying, like, living abroad did not make me a polyglot. I think it helped me to understand how to learn languages. It made me aware of how much I still had to learn, especially with my last experience in Italy. In terms of the fluency is not something that you should take it as easy. It's not a magical way. It's not like one day you arrive to the country, 6 weeks after you're fluent in that country. I will not say that. I think it's completely wrong to think like because you're going to live in a country that suddenly you're going to speak the language. It requires so many things that you have to do, like some structure you need to get, some grammar that you need to put, some social courage, I would say. So many courage that you have to do in terms of having a social life in the country that when you have outside of the country, the output that is essential to get, and probably also a lot of reflection, a lot of introspective. And fluency is not, I know I always talk about that you have like level that you can reach: A1, A2, B1, B2, arriving to C1. It's a very slow growth to get to fluency, and it takes years, not just weeks and months. And if you see a video telling you like you're gonna be fluent in 6 weeks, do not believe those shit, because it's impossible. Fluency is not just learning some sentences and repeating them all the time. Fluency is about to get immersed in a culture, having a social life in that culture, moving around as a local person. This is fluency, and this is not something you get in 6 weeks. This is something you get in years. So let's just end with this one, and I will ask you to answer to my question in a comment. And the question is, have you ever lived in a country to improve a language? And if yes, did it change your learning process, or do you feel like it was what you were expecting?